Hello, everyone. Welcome to Decked. My name is Tyler, and with me is my transatlantic co-host, Lee.
Hi, Tyler. Thanks for having me. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well, mate.
Thanks for coming back.
It's always a pleasure.
Glad to hear it. Here on Decked, we like to play card games and then go back and comment on them as we watch them on the monitor later on. In this instance, we have a game of Call of Cthulhu for you that was hosted at a tournament at Black Moon Games in Lebanon, New Hampshire. You can see two folks mulliganing their opening hands right now. I'm sitting on the left in the blue Doctor Who t-shirt, and on the right we have our king beyond the wall in the local area named Carlo, because he's from Quebec, and that's like the frozen north.
Oh, I doesn't say there's a whole nother world for you guys, isn't it?
It is. There's paperwork and a very intimidating wall. And by wall, I mean sort of mown path through the tree line so the satellites can watch people cross the border. It's a very friendly border on the north. So in this particular tournament, I was playing a Migo-focused deck that I call Toxic Fungi. It's mainly with the new toys the Migo got in the last couple packs. I feel like they've become very fun to play, particularly with a conspiracy known as pervasive toxemia, which people who have seen previous episodes of the deck will be familiar with by now. And on the right, Carlo is playing Project Mill, which does exactly what it says on the tin.
That's not a very secretive code name, is it? It's no top secret misdirection there.
No, it's like Project, let's beat the other guy. But it's very effective. You can't argue with that. And particularly with Carlo, it's always a question of who's going to go first. And that question will be unanswered for a little bit longer because we finally started playing correctly. No, that's not right.
No, because you've got no stories.
Right. We've got no stories, and you're supposed to determine who goes first before anything else. So I always get that backwards.
Yeah, reveal stories, determine first player, and then the first player decides if they're going to mulligan, and then the second player does.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very rare that the stories can influence. I know for myself if I'm going first or second. Normally it's my deck decides it, not the stories.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever have decks where you want to be the second player?
I generally like going second on my rush decks, because that way I can just go straight into the stories, and my opponent can't play characters based on the characters I play out. Whereas with my control decks, I like going first because I like being a resource ahead of them, and potentially one of my favourite factions to play is Yog-Sothoth.
Right.
And being able to play Push into the Beyond on their turn one is very mean, but gets the job done.
Right. It's so affordable.
Yeah, it's anyone who is playing Yog-Sothoth and doesn't own the card Push into the Beyond and is watching this, get the Asylum pack with Pushed into the Beyond into it. It will make your deck amazing. And
it's an excellent pack all around. There's some other choice cards in there from what I recall. And just to point this out for the viewer, one of the cards Carlo resourced was a pervasive toxemia, and then he resourced another pervasive toxemia. So we're both running the same conspiracy here. Is
this because by this point in the tournament he knew you were also running it, and so just would rely on you to do the work for him?
I think so. I've played iterations of this deck in testing against him as well, so it was he knew pretty well what I was going to be playing.
So Carlo's opened up with a Faceless Abductor, one of the greatest cards in the Silver Twilight Deluxe box.
Indeed.
Sadly, not for Silver Twilight.
Well, they've got cards in that box. That's what you can say about that box. They've got cards.
Lord Geoffrey Farrington is a good card from the box.
He is an excellent card from the box. He doesn't show up like he used to, though.
Oh, he's been surpassed by Ramsdale Brown and August.
Mm-hmm. We are really going for a quasi-mirror match here with abductors on both sides. Good old festival.
Good old festival. It's just so nice.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting to see the way the card is sort of trickling through our little set of players here, because I played Festival, Carlo plays Festival, Rod is now playing Festival. Rod, who is solidly in the investigator arena, is come over to the Mythos side.
You've corrupted him.
Yes. So I think it means I need to swing over into Miskatonic for a while to keep the scales balanced.
Just try and rush them. He can't mill you if you rush in time.
Yeah,
That's one way to deal with it.
I think I need to redefine what I believe mill is, or rush is, because I know some people say, well, just rush it, and then I think, but I thought I was rushing.
And one thing I will point out, because if I wasn't recording this, I would say in the comments, Tyler was unfortunately very naughty with his festival there.
Did I put it in the wrong place?
You didn't blow up a resource first.
Oh.
So effectively, you're a turn ahead. Naughty Tyler.
Naughty, but I feel in the long run, everything's going to be fine, having played through this session. Oh, I'll get it right someday, I promise. Right after they ban it.
Festival will never be banned.
Oh, everything good would be banned. That is the nature of the world. Everything good is destroyed.
See, one card that I'd like the idea of if more people for yourself are using Festival, is, I think it's called Breaking the Ward. It's a 0-cost Yog-Sothoth attachment. You attach it to a support card, and after it's triggered by the owner, you can discard the top card of your deck to trigger the effect. So you wouldn't have to blow up a resource because it's a cost. You would just search for one out of your deck and attach it to a drain domain, so you can get some serious resource acceleration thanks to them using Festival.
That is interesting.
And we'll either put them off or go, okay, I've got my resources, everything I draw, now it's just getting played.
Mm-hmm. And is that just on opponents' supports?
Sadly, only on opponent support. It has to be after they trigger it.
I see.
But for example, if someone turns up with Temple of Relay, cool. You sacrifice 2 guys because whilst I've effectively sacrificed 1, so
right,
it can put them off from using it. It's a card I like the idea of. I've never tried, but I feel like I should, just because no one will expect it.
I encourage this particularly now that you're videoing.
I am indeed. I'm still to edit, but yes.
Editing's the hard part. So Carlo just threw down the dreaded Snowgraves, which is locking up the discard pile. And he put a player that tears in the dark, and now this is the Ritual of Belifar.
So Ritual Belifar is chooses a domain and makes you discard a number of cards based on how many resources attached to it.
Right.
So due to your sneaky festival play, you're actually milling more than you should have.
Mm-hmm. It still would have taken away the Thunder, though, and the Thunder was
the solution. Yeah,
in very short supply. I know it's just the way the cards are ordered in the deck. It just seems when you play a mill deck, you're doomed to lose anything that would allow you to mitigate the mill deck.
And losing Plague Stone, where it's one of the few ways where it will actually get in the discard pile as well.
Mm-hmm. Stay there forever. So resource of harvesting, Migo.
Having some intense thinking there.
Right. Because it's always a question of just working through what's going to have any sort of effect in this situation. And also, I think, trying to play the festival correctly from time to time. So, Savio and the Ageless Migo. And then Mill 2. Really should be Mill 1, play the other thing. But
yeah, it's still good. It's not like you played a guy to draw cards, so it's... Yeah. It's more the fact this is sad lonely Migo at the moment. He's got no friends.
Mm-hmm. He just saw one go in the discard pile.
I imagine it gets even worse once a second or even third Terrors in the Dark turn up as well.
He's gotten to 2 with me, and that was just
yeah, that'd still be noticeable.
Yeah, I've not yet gotten to enjoy 3 at a time.
Enjoy feels like a strong word there, Todd.
I try to be positive. I've not yet experienced it. How about that? Nice neutral experience.
So, for example, with Terrors in the Dark, because of how much it's been used, for example, would it make you consider a deck using Day just to help thin down Terrors in the Dark, for example?
I think it would, particularly in this group. Like, almost, I'm not going to say all the decks, but there's a strong propensity towards night and offensive night-based effects. So playing a day deck would be a very good choice overall, even if it weren't just teching against terrors.
Would your only concern be as soon as you play it, it won't last long until they play another night card to get rid of it, or?
I mean, that's always an option or a consideration you have to take into account with night and day. But I kind of like the back and forth swing when sides are going at it, trying to make it day or night instead of just being like, yeah, it's night. We all like it to be night.
Yeah, all the mythos hiding in their dark.
Right. Because there's so many effective night cards. Day just doesn't seem to match.
No, if you're not playing Agency, it's Guardians of Dawn or, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That is a Baleful Dark Young, which takes things out of the game.
It takes itself out of the game. It removes success tokens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because when it would leave play, you can take it out of the game and remove success.
Yeah, you choose a story and whoever has the most success tokens removes them until they match the person they match the lowest there.
Mm-hmm.
So at the moment, it is a very one-sided success removal.
Right. And with this particular deck, Carlo has commented in the past, he doesn't want to commit. The Ithian Scout needs to get deaded somehow, but in general, he's not super interested in committing.
No. And if anything, unfortunately, your Toxemia is giving him an out for both of them as well.
Right.
You're just fueling his fire, Tyler.
I think a lot of this game came down to not changing the way I was playing in respect to what his deck is doing. Like, there are a number of cards where I was just hurting myself more than I was gaining anything.
You was like, this is what the deck does. This is what I will do.
Yeah, this is
regardless of the opponent. This
is my plan. I'm going to carry on with it regardless of circumstances. But it does make me wonder how I might have shifted gears effectively. Would it have been beneficial to wait more or be more circumspect in where I was committing?
So now we have some more Migos. We have a second Aegis Amigo and their commander.
Mm-hmm. Finally, someone to give these people direction.
Yeah, they got their books and their toughness, but they just don't know what else to do. And then combined with Savio giving them all terror as well, the Migos are feeling quite strong on their icons.
Mm-hmm. They have a very respectable set of icons right now. Because the Ageless have Arcane by themselves, which is always handy.
That's the thing, even just for a first turn, I've got some Arcane, and so long as they haven't got terror, you can go, I lose combat, okay, but I'm tough, it's fine. I'm going to keep going into the stories.
Mm-hmm. And this is where the dance of math begins. Where can I put somebody where he's not going to get crazy bumper effects?
Savio holding back because of concern of tricks, I imagine?
I think I like him as a defender. I think I find myself leaving him as a defender because he doesn't have Arcane.
I mean, at least thanks to, even with Black Dog, because he's also fast, he wouldn't die to that, because I know that's often one thing is surprise combat, taking you out and being one of the only real ways to lose him.
Right.
But yeah, I now imagine Carlo's going with, I could wound one of these to Toxemia and then either a scout to get another scout and maybe come back, or remove tokens and...
Well, the scout he would have to wound the scout because it would just go mad, I think, first. So he could wound the scout and then he could have sent the Baleful in to die.
Although it would only remove 2 tokens because you do that story first, hopefully.
If I was thinking that far ahead.
So yeah, I think there was some serious thought processing of it. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then I think this is one of those situations where he's like, I will let him do this, and then I will take away all the tokens very shortly.
Yeah. 4 tokens, 4's fine, you haven't won it yet. I will ruin your dreams next turn. Mm-hmm. Now, fine. I will give you hope, and then I'll take that hope away.
Oh, you've met him before.
I've met control players before. one of my friends is a avid control player in many CCGs.
Mhm.
I'm a control player, but I'm nowhere near his level. But I can appreciate that mentality. Here's a thing, take it off from you.
Hmm. I was hearing the other day that there's a hoodie making the rounds of social media where it's all blue all over. It has the blue magic, the symbol for blue mana on it, and I think the logo is that resolves. After the recent episode of Spellslingers, where the guest was all about playing blue-black control, I'm starting to get some of that terminology and what it means to let something resolve.
Yeah,
And this guy,
the large man who doesn't look that. To me, he's a very tall man.
tall.
Yeah, large man to me seems more like he's got a few pounds on him. To me, as a large man.
I think yeah, you feel like you'd want to show that off at least, unless he's a giant, like he has gigantism or something. But my thing with him is he's patient but shorn, and he has a ponytail. How can he be shorn with a ponytail?
I look at him and he feels like Samuel L. Jackson with a bit of a silver facial hair going on. Give him an iPad, Nick Fury.
Mm-hmm. Nick Fury undercover in the Middle East.
Indeed. So Large Man's exhausted to return the topmost event card, which is sadly the only event card.
Mm-hmm. But now I think that's Curse of the Stone. They'll probably be coming back shortly. Because after he recycled the Belifar ritual, he did Curse of the Stone.
Because he would do 4 either way, but he's keeping his options open because you might build up further. Yeah, even then, just like I know in several games, people can go, "How strong is Mill?" Because if you can't get to 0, all you're doing is no different to if you never drew those cards in the first place.
Right.
But because Cthulhu starts at 50, you're down to 42 after setup, and from there on you go. The numbers catch up with you quicker than I think people can appreciate in this game.
Every time I play this against this deck, I appreciate it more and more. It's just not enough to change the way I play, apparently. Because with Large Man on the table, I probably should have been more circumspect about where I was committing.
Not over-committing because it's 2 cards lost every time you succeed.
Right. But I'm more concerned about the Dark Young at this point. Or at least unclear on what it does.
Well, it is relatively new, isn't it? So
yeah. I think this was the first time I'd seen it in play. I'm not certain if this was ever in his earlier drafts. And when this tournament happened, this was the first time we'd played since well before Thousand Young ever dropped.
Oh, okay.
In terms of like the 4 of us getting together.
So he's like, I've got some new toys. Here we go.
Right.
You got new toys. I've got new toys. And here's a typical control player going, no toys for you.
Yeah. And he's been getting feedback from his friends up in Montreal where they have their own group going and have been making great use of the Shub-Niggurath cards in a very compressed series of regionals and nationals. I think they did 2 regional kits in a row and then have lucked into a nationals kit.
Ooh.
Because the other organizer gave it up.
Well, at least you've got both Card Game DB and the Cthulhu Skype group, which I encourage anyone who is watching to join, as we're a very friendly group and discuss decks all the time. For myself, I'm the only one from the UK who appears to use it, so I can happily discuss the UK meta. As soon as other people in the UK catch on, I'm in trouble.
Yes. See, that's why I like to think of it as my little private brain trust. Because we've got you and Obtuse, and none of us overlap. And see, this is me really should have been holding back. Because he'll clear out 4 with the Dark Young, just by wounding it to toxemia.
So it's just a case of which story is he going for. So no Second Dragon, which I could appreciate. I would want to give you more Miko.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could have used another Ageless or another Commander.
Granted, if the Budding Dark Young hadn't been killed off, giving him 2 more of those would be a very scary prospect.
Yeah. And now this is where that's what the Large Man does. Okay.
So you go, he's got that other effect, hasn't he? Oh, yeah. Oops.
So, not certain, but I think that might be 8 cards. If it's 2 per success.
Yeah, it's after a player succeeds at a story. So he does work against you, assuming you go into stories.
Yes, going in madcap as I have been. Headlong. Headlong's a good word for it. And this is something I rarely do, is committing to toxemia, because this is, I think I was trying to spread the efforts around to sort of diffuse his token removal capacity.
And I imagine if he did get another Budding Dark Young, just to reduce the speed at which he can blow it up, as well as a guaranteed means of getting rid of the scout. Last thing you want to do is give him a reliable means to kill off the scouts without even having to go into combat first.
Right. That's probably, that may be why he stocked toxemia as well. Because I remember Obtuse at one point to point out, well, Yithian scouts usually have a place to feed the scout.
Mm.
And I until I came back to revisit this, I wasn't able to think of any sort of outlet that this deck might have for it. But now I see it's just because I was playing it for him.
Yeah, because I know Obtuse, and I've looked at myself, is with using the scout, is the Ithilonai statue from Cthulhu, which as a passive effect, just constantly destroys characters of printed skill 1 or fewer.
Mm-hmm.
So they blow up, go to the discard pile, hopefully return, blow up again, and keep repeating until you stop discarding the cards to return them.
Mm-hmm. I remember reading about that one and was like, that would be a lot of fun to play. I gotta do that someday.
And Carlo has now just unfortunately cursed you twice, followed by a ritual of Belafar.
Mm-hmm. He's just going for broke.
14 cards gone.
I bet you that's 3 left in the deck. That's my personal guess, is that's 3 cards left. I will not be playing the Vortex of Time. Am I? No, I'm resourcing it.
I think he initially thinks you were intending to, and you were like, you go, no, that would be suicidal. I'll draw 2 and then force response to discard the top card. Oh dear.
Well, Lord of the Migo, at least. Yeah, that's 3.
So playing him, you'll have to discard 1, leaving you 2. So even if he does nothing, just the larger man will terrorize you on stories.
Yeah, I haven't. I don't think I milled it. Yeah, there we go. Good call. I was gonna say I haven't milled for the Lord yet. Poor Darker Birth. I haven't played that. I don't know when the last time I got to play that card was. I let it go in the latest iteration. Just a high stringent cost.
With my teammate who used Migos, we test both Dark Rebirth and, bizarrely enough, the Shub-Niggurath as well. Because the theory was we're using the Twilight Cannibal.
Mm-hmm.
And that helped us get cards back as well, but it was always the king. That was the issue.
Well, Lee, thanks very much for coming back to the show. We want to thank you for sitting in to comment on this. Everybody should keep an eye out on Card Game DB, where he goes by New Phoenix. And thanks very much for watching Decked. You can drop by youtube.com/DeckShow to find out more and watch more videos. Please, thanks so much.
Thanks.